Good morning. Good morning. We are now live, and I welcome everyone here for another session of learning under lockdown inspiration. I see people are logging on as we speak. We're here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So welcome aboard to all those who are logging in now, and good morning. Those of you that are logging into YouTube and Facebook, it's exciting to see you all back for a great morning ahead, discussion ahead. So we're just going to give it a few minutes as people log on. Please do share your greetings. We'd love to hear from you. Great. Hello, one and all. Keep the comments coming through. Keep the comments coming through and the greetings coming through. Boker Tov, one and all. Thank you. Great stuff. Good morning, all. I see everyone's responding. Nice to have you all online. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Okay. Right. Let me welcome you all personally. And I see people are logging on now with YouTube as well. So let me say hello. Let me say hello to Ruth Kaplan, good morning. Helen Feinstein, good morning. Tracy Mindel, good morning. Anne Hack, thank you. Shalom Triga, good morning. I understand that Shalom Triga, you have a yard site for your mother. So I wish you long life. Is that right, Shalom? Just let us know in the comments if you have yard site for your mother today. Norman Stain, good morning. Larry Cohen, thank you. Linda and Jaime Drew. Robert Levy, Boker Tov. Larry Cohen. Morning, Norman. Yes, we love having Norman here, Larry Cohen here. Michael, we haven't seen Michael yet. For those of you who are logging on, please let us know you're here. On YouTube, Shelley Smith, good morning. Faga Sega, Mora Dworkin, Stan Braz from Raylene and Stan, Cheryl and Diamond. Wonderful, wonderful to see you all here once again. We're going to give it a couple of minutes, a minute or two, just to allow for people to log on. Let's give them a second to log on and allow them. Arlene Udolovitz, good morning. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. David Ginsburg, thank you. Boker Tov. Wonderful. Okay, another minute and we're going to get going. Okay, in the meantime, I just request of everyone, those on Facebook, like this video. Just beneath the screen is a like button or a share button. Why don't you just share that with your friends? You can share it and people will see. Avra Walpert, Ian Clemenson, Boker Tov. Fantastic. Good to see you all here for another session of daily learning and lockdown inspiration. That's what we're here to do. Ingrid Sieve, Boker Tov. Thank you for joining. Yes, hello, hello. Good to have you. Manfred Kalmuk, battling to get Mincha last 2 days. Manfred, it could be something wrong with the link that was sent out, Manfred. I'll get the link right today. Apologies, Manfred, but it should work today. So just keep on trying today. Donna Lovitz, good to have you here. Fantastic. We are 30 viewers between Facebook and YouTube on 25 profiles, plus top. Some of you are 2 people. Between 25 and 30 viewers here this morning. So I welcome you back for a brand new morning. Getting a little bit warmer, not as cold as the last couple of days. So that's fantastic. Engage with you. I love to discuss with you. Love to talk to you. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat on either YouTube or Facebook. We'd love to hear from you and have our conversation. So I was right, Shalom. Can we learn in memory of my late mother, Chaya Rachel Bat Mendel. Absolutely. And she should be a good advocate on behalf of you for Rafur Shalema and the entire family, please God. Everyone should be well and healthy. That's the main thing. Great stuff. I'm happy you're all here to join us. Let's get going. We were speaking yesterday about the downfall of the Miraglim, of the spies, which the spies are referred to, as we know, as Anoshim Kesherim. They considered holy people. They considered holy people. They were righteous people, and yet they fell, and yet they sinned. And we spoke yesterday about the battle or the challenge or the juggle between leaders acknowledging wrong, apologizing in public, which is key and critical, and together with the community being more accepting and more forgiving. And there was a discussion as to which one comes first. Is it the lack of apology and lack of sincerity or lack of transparency of our leaders versus the community not being forgiving enough or accepting enough? And I think both are equal. We're not going to resolve that conflict today. Stan Brask, I see you put in the comments on YouTube, the problem with shuls, it's very touching experience. Yeah, and that's the problem. It's a very touching experience. Touching has two connotations to that. So hopefully by having these engaging learning groups, both on this forum and on the Zoom forum, hopefully that creates the touch feel, maybe not physically, but at least emotionally and socially. That's why I encourage you to engage here and to comment. Jenny Lichtenstein, good morning. Thank you for joining us here. I encourage you to engage and share, because that's what creates a sense of community. I mean, where in the world? I never in my life imagined having 30 students at every morning share of mine, especially at 10:30 in the morning. So Corona has its silver lining and its blessings. To have you all here every morning is extremely motivating, extremely uplifting, and hopefully you feel the same. So let's keep that going for as long as we can. So we're talking about the spies. We're talking about their downfall. We're talking about how the great fall, which is the big problem. And the question is, as we started discussing yesterday, as what went wrong? What went wrong? There were righteous people. There were holy people. What went wrong? How could they come back to the desert and give back a negative report, discourage the nation from going into the land? How was that possible? Yesterday we gave one answer, and that was that they really had no bad intention. Their intention was that they wanted to stay in the desert. The desert meant godliness. The desert meant spiritual. The desert meant divine. That's what they wanted. They wanted to stay in the desert. That's all they asked for. They didn't want to go into Israel. Just bear with me for a second. There we go. They didn't want to go into Israel. They wanted to stay holy in the desert. That was yesterday's explanation. Hi, dear D. Tanner from Cape Town. Thank you for joining us here. Good to have you all. Anyone else from out of town, let us know. We've got Cape Town on the line. Is there Australia? Is there Israel? Let us know if anyone else is logging on. We'd love to hear from you. Today, I'd like to touch upon a different angle and elaborate and discuss that. A different angle. Rodney Kotkas, good morning from the office. Good morning. So a different angle on what went wrong. What went wrong with the spies? And if you look through their discussion, if you look through their report back, you'll see it very clearly. I mentioned this in one of our Mincha Marivs in the evening, but I want to elaborate on this. When they came back from Israel, they gave back a report. There's nothing wrong with giving back a report. Even if it seems scary, even if it seems so intimidating, there's nothing wrong with giving a report. On the contrary, if you're given a job, go give the report. That's your job. Go give the report. And so they did that. They gave the report. They said that the fruit is so big and so large. There are giants there. It's very scary. And it was scary. It's true. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with stating the facts. It was scary. It was intimidating. They were petrified. Fully. But what was wrong was the conclusion they came to. The conclusion was uncalled for. And to be honest, I'm not sure if they were malicious. I'm not sure if they meant so wrong. I'm not sure if they were evil or wicked. Maybe they had the good intentions in mind for the community. What they concluded was that because Canaan was so scary and so intimidating, they were convinced that we can't go in. There's no chance we can go in. In fact, there are two commentaries in the Chumash as to who they were, to who they addressed their comments, their statements. Hi, Janice, welcome on YouTube. The word there in the Chumash is ki chazak hu mimenu, because they, the Canaanites, are stronger mimenu, from him. And the commentaries actually have a discussion as to who mimenu refers to. Is mimenu a reference to the people, that the Canaanites are stronger than the people and therefore we can't go in? Or is mimenu a reference to God himself, that the Canaanites are stronger than God and that's why we can't go in? So there is a debate like that in the commentaries, on the Chumash, in the Talmud, in the Gemara too. Maybe we can say that the difference between these two opinions is actually whether they were becoming wicked and malicious. These were righteous people. These were Anoshim Kasherim. They were holy people. How could they speak out against God that way? And then maybe that's the motivation for the opinion who says that they were addressing the community. Ki chazak hu mimenu. They were addressing the community. The community, we as a community are not strong enough to fight against the Canaanites. Maybe they weren't talking about God. And maybe they weren't malicious against God. That's one take. The other take says that mimenu means God himself. That they were saying that the Canaanites are stronger than God. God could never defeat the Canaanites. It doesn't make sense. It's illogical to be able to fight back against the Canaanites. And so they were malicious. That's true. How they fell from being Anoshim Kasherim, holy and righteous people, to being people who are doubting God's koyach, God's energy, God's strength, is a massive question. Ki chazak hu mimenu, because they're stronger than God. That was the one opinion. So either way, whichever way we go, this is where they went wrong. They went wrong because nobody asked you to come to conclusions. That wasn't your job. Your job was to report back on the facts. What are the facts in the land of Canaan? How do things look there in the land of Canaan? But to come back and give a report back, yes, we can go in. No, we can't go in. Yes, it is scary, or it's intimidating, or they can't do it, or they can do it. That's not the role and the responsibility of the spies to do. That's for Moshe Rabbeinu to decide. That's for God to decide. That's not for the Meraglim. It's not for the spies to decide that. And that's exactly the mistake of the spies that they made. I just want to pause here for a moment to welcome all those who are logging on. We're over 30 now, close to 35 participants here this morning on YouTube and Facebook together. So a big welcome. If you're still logging on, please do put your comments and let us know you're with us. I'd love to hear from you. Any questions, please put them in the chat. So a big welcome, to all. This problem that the spies had, the problem of concluding things, the problem of coming to conclusions, the problem of scaring the nation based on the facts, is something we're going to be very, very careful of even in our own personal lives, living a practical life in today's world, 21st century. Take, for example, the coronavirus, the time that we live in today. It's a crazy time. And it's a crazy time, and there are many headlines and news reports and medical reports. You can't even keep up. Try and keep up with the headlines. You will never manage. Does that mean that the doctors shouldn't report on things? They should absolutely report on things. We've got to know the facts. We've got to know what's going on. We've got to know the spread of the virus. That's so key, so important. But what's not right is the self-concluding conclusions. That's problematic. Because the moment we think we have all the answers is exactly when we're going wrong. If you want to report on the facts, report on the facts. If you want to say to us and to the community and to society, look out for A, B, and C, Just look out for the following facts that are taking place, the spread of that or the spread of this, that's fine. But to come to conclusions when we don't know the conclusions, that's the reality. We don't know the conclusions in many instances, in many cases. We must be very careful before coming to conclusions. I think that most of you followed the World Health Organization, WHO, the World Health Organization. I think it was last week. And this is like really the proof of the matter. The WHO Health Organization put out some statements, and I say some statements because they were conflicting statements, about asymptomatic carriers of the coronavirus. Did you see those reports? Hi, Dr. Dennis Solomon. It's good to have you here. Maybe you'll contribute to the conversation that we're having. So some of you, I'm sure you all saw the World Health Organization, WHO. They put out some statements about asymptomatic carriers. And one day it said that asymptomatic carriers can't transmit the virus. And the next day they changed their minds and they said that asymptomatic carriers can transfer the virus. And this went back and forth. I think they changed their minds twice last week. And as a reader, as a customer, what do you walk away thinking? You walk away thinking, what on earth do these medical practitioners actually know? We all know that the virus is catchy. We all know that it's deadly. We all know that it's spreading, but conclusions like that, where the World Health Organization changes their mind between asymptomatic and non-asymptomatic, or can it transmit or can't it transmit, right? That's a joke, because it just shows us that conclusions are not in our hands, that many times we've got to raise our hands in the air and say, God will guide us. God will guide us. I don't mean at all that medical practitioners shouldn't guide us. I don't mean at all that the World Health Organization shouldn't be putting out the regulations and the rules. And we have to keep to the medical doctors and their guidance. It's conclusions that don't have any ground to stand on. That's the biggest worry. Conclusions that don't have science and medical proof. That's the problem. Every academic knows that one isn't allowed to quote a fact without having a resource to support it, right? Unless you got a reference, you can't quote it. This, by the way, frustrates lots of academics, because many academics have a daya, they have an opinion, they want to say something, they want to write it, but they can't say it unless they back themselves up. You know what that teaches us? That teaches us something called bittul. Bittul means self-nullification, realizing that what I think and what I know isn't necessarily going to make it happen. What I think and what I know isn't necessarily going to convince someone else. And I may be the greatest doctor, the greatest professor. If I'm writing an article, if I'm writing an academic paper, if I'm writing a journal, I can't write that journal. I can't come to my conclusions unless I back it up with referencing. Yes, I can still have an opinion. Yes, I can still view my conclusion. It's my conclusion. But you've got to have referencing, because you've got to realize that you don't know everything. And I think it's quite something, it reflects Judaism too, where Judaism also believes in having referencing the precedent. You can't come up as a new kid on the block and start quoting new halachot and new law and new practices and new standards. You got to rely on the precedent. I've had this conversation with lawyers in our community and those involved in law. We've spoken about precedent, right? You've got to have the precedent to rely on. What does that teach you? Precedent, relying on precedent, teaches me that I don't have all the answers, and I can't come to conclusions that aren't supported and I don't know about. And the Meraglim, the spies, came out telling the Jewish people about the desert and what was scary and what was intimidating. That's fine. But the conclusion that we can't go in and conquer. Who said? Who said we can't go in and conquer? God had just taken us out of Egypt, performed for us the 10 miracles, the 10 plagues, split the Yam Suf, and we can't go in to conquer Canaan. How does that work? Why is that? That's the problem that the spies did. That's the problem with the spies' mistake. I'll take this to another direction, because I think it plays out in another area of life. And that is with regards to medical doctors who are overlooking our health. The true sign of a righteous doctor is a doctor who recognizes that ultimately God is in control. A doctor who recognizes that ultimately God is a source of healing and is a source of well-being and health. You know, the Rambam, Maimonides, was a medical practitioner. How he knew medicine, no one really knows. It sounds like he studied Torah, and Torah gave him the knowledge with which to be able to practice as a medical doctor in Egypt. And we know that the Rambam Maimonides had a prayer. It's called the Tfilat HaRofeh. It's the prayer that the doctors should say. And what is a prayer? The prayer is basically acknowledging that I am only a conduit. I'm only a channel for God's blessings. I am not the source of healing myself as a medical practitioner. I am the source of healing from God through me. And this Tfilat HaRofeh in many religious doctors' offices is hanging on the wall, because the religious doctor, or whatever type of doctor it is acknowledging that the Rambam's sentiments about medicine and about prayer and about God is something that they relate to as well at the same time. And they too recognize God's hand in their work of medicine. And they recognize that they are not the source of healing and well-being. They're just the conduit. I've got a brother-in-law, Esti's brother. God bless him. He's a hand surgeon in Israel. He works at the Sharon Hospital in Petach Tikva. Some of you have met him. I think Raylene Brazg is on the line. She knows the family. I don't think you taught Moti. I think you taught Yossi. But Moti is the doctor in Israel. And, many times during hand surgery, when Moti's got someone's hand open, and he stands there and he says Tehillim. He says Psalms while he operates. Can you imagine? When the doctor's standing over you, you're lying there on the bed, and the doctor's standing over you and he's saying Psalms. How would you respond to that? Many people would respond and say, oh my gosh, the doctor's saying Psalms. If the doctor's saying Tehillim, it's pretty bad, right? And some people have actually complained to him. They've complained to him and said, doctor, what are you doing? Are you saying Tehillim? Are you praying to God? That means you are reliant or dependent on him to assist you. Do you not know your job? Can you not heal me? Can you not operate independently on your own? Are you not trained? That's some people's response. And his response is, sure, I'm trained. Sure, I'm capable. But I don't know the answers. I don't know the conclusions. I don't know what's going to be in 5 minutes' time. Even if I follow medical protocol, even if I follow the necessary steps, I don't know what the outcome is going to be. So I pray to God and I say Tehillim and I say Psalms that he should help me through the journey of medicine to give you, the patient, the right healing and the refuah shalema. So that's important. And when looking for medical assistance and going to a doctor of whatever credentials, we want to go to a doctor that recognizes the hand of Hashem. We don't want to go to a doctor who's going to be a blockage or a separation between God and the patient, but rather to a doctor who becomes a conduit, a doctor who recognizes that I don't know all the answers and I don't know what the outcome is going to look like, because who am I to make that conclusion? It's in the hands of Hashem. I'll just do the work that I can see doing. Good morning, all. I'm just going to pause here for a moment. I see people are still logging on, so I want to welcome all those who have just logged on. It's great to have you all here on YouTube and Facebook. If you're just joining along now, please do comment and let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're here. I'd love to engage with you and to catch up with you and to communicate with you. So Brian Olwen writes, is it a case of misplaced bechira? Result could be our hishtadlus today. So on the one hand, absolutely, we have to do the hishtadlus. The hishtadlus means, it's a good word for making our effort, doing what we can do, and then hoping that God's going to respond and reflect our actions as well. And the same thing applies to ourselves in the business world. So many times we're building the blocks, one block after the next. We have no idea the journey where he's taking us. No idea. I'm sure some of you listened to Simon Sinek's talk. Where he spoke to the Jewish community thanks to the Jewish Report that hosted the event last week, I think it was. And many points that Simon spoke about really hit me hard. One of them is the journey of his career. That was fascinating. How Simon Sinek never imagined being Simon Sinek. If you don't know who Simon Sinek is, just go to your Google browser and search Simon Sinek, and you'll see straight away who it is. You'll see straight away. So one of the things that baffled me was his journey to his career and how he managed to become Simon Sinek. And he said, it wasn't my intention at all. I was a regular corporate type of guy. And that's a regular corporate type of guy, working my way through, going from one job to the next, not knowing anything else. And eventually one thing led to the next. And Simon Sinek is now publicly talking about the emotional side of business. He ended up in an industry that he never planned for. Why? Because you can't plan it. You don't know the outcome. So you got to take your necessary steps based on the circumstances of today. You got to take your necessary steps. Yes, God does want us to make certain conclusions. That we have to. Obviously, for the spies in the desert, it was slightly different. The final decision wasn't theirs. They had to hand over the information to Moshe, and Moshe Rabbeinu was going to make the final conclusion. But for ourselves, making our career choices, making our work choices, making whatever choice, family choices, we got to know that we don't know what's going to be in a year's time, in a week's time, in a month's time, because we don't know the outcome. So the faith we got to have is, I believe in Hashem, and I got to do what I can do at this point in time based on the knowledge that I have. But what the next step is going to be, I don't know. The same thing applies in many instances in dating. Now, I don't know if all you know, but I've been running online Zoom dating, speed dating online for our young adults. We've so far had 2 events, 10 guys and 10 girls per event. That means 40 young adults have signed up for our Zoom dating events. And one thing, we've told them is that when it comes to marriage, and many of you have been married longer than I, when it comes to marriage, you don't know what's going to be in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. You have no idea. And don't let anyone convince you that you do know, because we don't know the conclusions. We do know that we have to have faith. We have to go ahead with things that seem right. And so if you're dating someone, or your children are dating someone, it's very important to guide them and tell them that on the one hand, they have to explore the territory. See the girl, see the guy, get to know each other, feel comfortable with each other. For sure. You can't make decisions without that. But as you move forward, it's always going to be a leap of faith. No matter how long they've been with each other for, no matter how long they've known each other for, moving into marriage is a leap of faith. It comes with huge responsibility, new responsibilities, new territory, and a person needs to know, I don't know what's going to be tomorrow, but I got to move forward based on what I do know. And I think the same thing is now. It's a crazy time for shuls. It's a crazy time for institutions. It's a crazy time for schools. It's a crazy time for businesses. And many people are aggravated and frustrated and unsure and anxious. Anxiety is at its highest level today. So what are we supposed to do? What we're supposed to do is move forward with faith and realize that ultimately Hashem can do it. You know what fascinates me? What fascinates me is the entire world is now waiting for a vaccine. We're waiting for a vaccine. That's what the world says. And the world won't go back to normal until there's a vaccine. Have you seen the anticipation of the world? The world's recognizing that there's something we need to allow us to move forward, and we're anticipating this need, and we have no idea when it's going to be. We have trust, we have faith that the medical practitioners, the doctors are going to bring forward a vaccine. Really, I'd prefer to trust in God, to be honest. What does that mean? Medical practitioners, medical doctors, medical experts, and top scientists are going to come forward with a vaccine. We don't know when, we don't know how, we don't know what it's going to look like. 2020, 2021, we don't know. So to be honest, I'd rather say that Hashem will take care of us and we're going to move forward. Yes, Hashem hopefully will empower the doctors to come up with a vaccine long before 2021. Maybe it will happen in the next month or 2 months or 3 months. Obviously, we know what the circumstances are based on nature. We know where things are holding, and we have to plan accordingly and appropriately. But at the same time, we have to recognize that ultimately Hashem can bring about a healing of the coronavirus, just like he brought about the illness itself. Hashem can bring about the vaccine a lot sooner than 6 months away if he chose to. He could go the natural route, and that will be, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, who knows? But he could also do it within a month or two. That we have to acknowledge and recognize. Make decisions based on short term, but recognizing that long term, we don't know. The mistake of the spies was that they came to a conclusion. We can't go in. Really? Who said you can't go in? Let's not come to those conclusions. Let's turn to Hashem. Let's daven. Let's pray. Let's connect. Please God, he will guide us. We'll take the necessary steps we need to take. And please God, he'll guide us forward. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to post it on the chat. It's been a wonderful morning having you all here once again for another session of daily learning and lockdown inspiration. It's good to have you all here with us. Thank you for joining. We'll be back here tomorrow, Friday, conclusion of the week, 10:30 a.m. Friday tomorrow, 10:30 on Facebook and YouTube. You can join us here as well. But in the meantime, it's been wonderful being here with you. Thank you all for joining. We've had a solid crowd here, close to 35 viewers from all over for being online with us. So thank you once again for joining. Have a wonderful day. Keep strong. Keep healthy. Keep safe. Keep sane. And keep spiritual. Thank you.